Hi and welcome to my playhouse. Today we're gonna be talking network cards, and I have some good examples right here. I have some 10G network cards. Some of them are even still in the packaging. 10G network cards, that's the new stuff, right? Everybody wants that. There are two different kinds. There are the copper ones, and then there are these with FSPs. In data centers, the FSP version is widely used. For home use, I think the copper one might be as popular. But when you have a network card like this, you have these two ports, and they're each 10 gigabit. And very often, 10 gigabit is way overkill. So you don't really need 10 gigabit. And these ports, the switching ports, they're pretty expensive. So today we're going to be talking about something called vNIC or virtual NICs, which means you can actually take one of these 10 gigabit ports and convert them into more ports inside of the server. This might be smart for different reasons, but let's say that your computer, of course, it has a gigabit network connection, and often it has two. If you're in a professional environment, well, you will maybe have one NIC, maybe you will have two NICs. This one is a NIC with two ports. If you want redundancy, you might have two cards with one port each, and then they will go to different switches. But that's still just one 10G network connection that you get out of that, even though it's with redundancy. It might be active, that's awesome. Then you have 20 or 2 times 10 gigabit going into the server, but you don't really, well, if you want, like, you want to run your iSCSI over 10 gigabit as well, and you want your network to run over 10 gigabit, well, you would need, like, this card is good for it, then you would need two of them, right? I'm not gonna unwrap this. It's very nice to have it in a package, and you will already have two cards in the server, and these are not that cheap, especially the ones that I have here. And you have also used 4 ports in your switch. So this is where vNICs comes in. It means that you, in the network card, can tell the network card to virtualize your 10 gig connection. What it does is you activate this, and in the server you will have 4 network cards pop up, and they will, like, virtualize your connection. It means that you don't, of course, you don't get 4 times 10 gigabit Ethernet out of that. You get 4 ports that are each able to do 10 gigabit, but they're sharing the connection. This is very smart, because you might be transferring a lot of data over your iSCSI connection, and when that data is done, well, then you go, then you max out your network connection, and that gets all the bandwidth. And then you might have another connection I can't come up with anymore, but you might, well, VMware, vMotion. You have vMotion connection, and you can very rapidly move your virtual machines to another host, because now that is using the 10G connection. The thought behind this is really smart, so I thought that we would try and have a look at it on my screen back here. I did get some complaints in my last video where the screen looked like that, so I'll try to make an effort to make a better picture for you. I have slightly put down the resolution so that the pictures is bigger. I do believe this screen is only 1024 times 768. I might have been running with a higher resolution on that, so might have been why it looked like bad poop. So yeah, let's go to the screen and see what we have so far. So I think that's a better picture than we had the other day. There are some weird lines going on here. Okay, so I don't know how to get rid of those. But what we see is I have a 1 gigabit connection up here. I have a USB connector here. We don't need that, so we are not, don't mind that one. Then we have a 10 gigabit network card over here, QLogic one. You have the number of the processor on that. There's another 10G connector down here that is not plugged in because, well, number of switch ports are limited. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna shut down this server, and then we're gonna virtualize this card here, and hopefully we'll get more cards in here. and I'm very interested to see how that looks. So let's shut down the server and go into we have to go into the BIOS actually. Restart. And this is other planned. We could call it something about hardware maintenance. Hardware installation. Nah, maintenance plan. It doesn't matter. It's just for ourselves. So booting the server. We are working on this server. It's a Lenovo X3550 Model 4, and that server has a mesoline card. That means it's a QLogic card, but it's a special card that only fits on the system board of these servers. It will fit on this one, and it will also fit over here on this X3650 Model 4. Server is booting. In just a little bit we'll be able to go into the BIOS. And this is where we can actually press F1 to go into the BIOS. And we could just go around the back to the server and maybe see something. We'll have to turn on the lights though. There we are. So the server is down here. We have connected the server. This 10 gigabit Ethernet connector is going up to our 10 gigabit switch, which is up here. I forget which connection is the storage server, but it's one of these DAC cables here. So that's cool. And when we came back to the front of the server, it has found its way into the BIOS. So we need to go in and configure the network adapter, and we can do that from in here. It's under System Settings. Then we have to go down to Network. Network boot configuration, iSCSI configuration. But we also have the cards down here. I believe it's that one. Here it tells us it's a Broadcom Extreme. Well, it said QLogic in Windows. But they're more or less all the same company nowadays. And in here we get all the options that we can set on this network card, and there is a lot of options there. But we have this non-P NIC here, and that's the virtualization mode, and this is the thing that we're going to go down and configure. In here we have, right now it's none. Then there is NPAR. That's the same as vNIC, and then there is SR-IOV. This is a feature that you can use in, well, I did see it in VMware. You can offload processors like network communications to the network card. Instead of it having to go to the processor, well, the network card can handle some of that. So this is something completely different, but it's also part of the virtualization. You can choose to, here you can turn that on and have both of them. I'm just gonna go with the NPAR up here and create the vNICs. NPAR, important, it's also called that. So we're gonna activate that. Then we can go in NIC partition configuration menu. There we should be able to set some stuff in here. We can virtualize this to 4 NICs. So here we can configure these 4 NICs that we're gonna get in our operating system. We can kind of give him quality of service and say that, well, NIC 1 has to have this amount of service. So, but if we do that, we have to reach 100%. We lose some of our flexibility because we have to hit 100%. So that means that if I want NIC 1 here to at least have 25%, well, I can't use those 25% on the other NICs. So even if NIC 1 is not using that 25%, well, it's reserved to NIC 1. It might have some good usage somewhere. I don't think I'm gonna mess with it right now, but there's an option for that. Let's see, there is something called flow control. We are gonna just have it where it sits, and then we're gonna check NIC 1. Ethernet protocol is enabled. We get MAC addresses, enable, disable, it's probably fine. Okay, so Ethernet protocol is enabled on all of them. I don't know what happens if we disable that. Let's enable that. I'm expecting that we will have to do that for it to turn up in the operating system. So, okay, I think we're good here. We are more or less just in here looking at it. So let's escape again. I think we're done here. Might be something that I have missed, but then we'll have to get back to that. So let's escape. Oh, did I pick the wrong one? I think I picked the wrong one. Or did I? Let's check. Yeah, I picked the wrong one. We're just gonna undo this. None. Now we're gonna go out. And we're gonna pick the number 0 up here instead. I'm pretty sure that's the one that is connected. No reason to virtualize the network card that is not plugged in. That will just give us 4 extra not plugged in cards. There, NPAR switched on. I didn't change anything else, did I? I don't believe so. So escape. Let's save settings. There. And exit setup. And boot the server and see what we get. So while the server is booting, I made this little drawing of what this could look like. This is the server down here, and the server has these 2 10 gigabit ports. If this is on 1 NIC or on 2 NIC, depends on your redundancy. Up here I've just drawn 2 switches. It could also be 1 switch and just using 2 ports instead. In my specific experiment here, I'm only using 1 switch and 1 port down here. But if we see that port, it's being virtually split up into 4 ports inside of the server. And these ports could be used, I've come up LAN, Internet, iSCSI, management. It could also be, it could be your IP phones. That became a very nice IP phone. Sorry about that. What else could we could have? It could be a heartbeat. If you only have 10 gigabit Ethernet switches available, it would hurt so bad to have to use a port for a heartbeat signal. It uses no data whatsoever. So in this way, you wouldn't actually be using the bandwidth. You would just be using, well, you didn't have to put in an extra net to put in a heartbeat signal. And you control all of this with VLANs. So you would have a VLAN for your heartbeat and another VLAN for any of these, and they would just run on their separate networks and not really interfering with each other. And the network card will manage the traffic, which means that if you have 4 of these networks that are all needs attention, well then you're only gonna see 2.5 gigabits on each of these connections. But well, most of the time you will probably have the connections not using anything at all, and then maybe the iSCSI will be using 10 gigabit or almost 10 gigabit. So the server has booted. Let's see if we're good. It has found some new networking over here. That's gonna be exciting. Okay, I love it when a plan comes together. Let's see. We have our 1 gigabit network connection here. That is unchanged. Then we have a network connection 10, 11 is unplugged, 12, 13, 15. So it seems that every second, no, that makes no sense. Number 10 is new, number 12, 13 and 15. They are all part of the virtual 10 gigabit connection. Then we have this weird USB thing down here. So it works exactly as predicted. Let's see if we choose to configure one of these. I'm guessing it looks exactly like a regular network card here. Yeah. So we can configure this with an IP or VLAN or whatever. If we had 2 network cards, we could probably build a teaming between, this is the other physical 10G connection. We wouldn't have to split that one up, so we could have this being all 10 gigabit, and then we could kind of team that with one of the other NICs. It might be the network connection, let's say number 10 here would be our network connection, and we wanted our physical connection here to be always 10 gig. We wouldn't have to split that up, and we could just team that with number 10 over here, and we would have always 10 gigabit. And then some of the time, if we run an active solution, well, we could have 2 times 10 gigabit, which could be cool. It's pretty awesome when it just works the first time. Wanted to show you this network card that I came across. It has another connector. These connectors are different, and they are not SFPs. I think they're QSF. Not totally sure about that. This is a 10 gigabit, one of those, but this has only one of them. So this is a lot bigger than the normal FSPs. It was different, so I needed it. It's a Broadcom. It says it right here. Model number there. So this way of virtualizing your network card could give you a lot of extra ports in your switch, because suddenly 2 ports on a card like this goes a long way compared to if you need a physical port for each of the connections that you need in your server. And I want to go further with this. This is rather cool. This card will give you like 8 10 gigabit connections in your server. Can't use them all at once, but you would more or less have 20 gigabit LAN, 20 gigabit iSCSI, 20 gigabit come up with something after the beep. And for redundancy, it will be great, because you will need a lot less cards to actually get the performance in a bad situation than if you use the physical connections. Well, you're still using these physical connections, you're just using them 4 times better. This is all about optimizing the use of resources. We all know that it's pretty hard to stress out a 10 gigabit port, and you don't do it very long at a time. If you want to copy some data to one disk from another disk on a normal server, well, using 10 gigabit file transfer, it usually don't take that long. If you have a petabyte of data on your SAN and you're gonna transfer that to your new SAN, yeah, you need more than this. But for servers in a data center like this can save all of us thousands of dollars overnight. So, well, thank you very much for watching my videos. Do subscribe to my channel so that you can see me again, and have a really nice day. Bye bye.